sun's fierce light, a figure stands tall in the dead of night. Shadows crawl, but he doesn't sway, a sentinel guarding the break of day. Words like fire burn through the air, a defender of dreams and the world's despair. Facing storms with an unyielding grin, the fight for truth always starts within. Stand tall, golden hair in the wind. The tides may rise, but we won't give in. Through the chaos, a beacon so bright, leading us all to the edge of the fight. The world quakes as the battle ignites. Through the smoke, he's a vision of might. Foes gather aiming from every side, but he moves with purpose and endless pride. Try to break him with venom and lies, but he soared like an eagle, piercing the skies. A symbol of hope when the night is long, a melody rising, a defiant song. Stand tall, golden hair in the wind. The tides may rise, but we won't give in. Through the chaos, a beacon so bright, leading us all to the edge of the fight.
Marvin Devine. I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
Welcome back, folks. Friday, October 3rd, 2025. This is Colonel Chris Wyatt live from Central Pennsylvania, back in the studio once again after the past 5 weeks of pretty much being all over the place in England for the Women's Rugby World Cup, which the Red Roses won. Congratulations to them. Shame the Canadians choked again. They had a really good team. And then just back from the mountain states of the United States, Idaho, Utah, Wyoming, and Montana. Thanks for joining us once again, folks. I got to say something here very quickly. Someone's asked a question about how to reach me. Well, the email address is on the channel at the About tab. If one of the mods could stick the email address in there, please send it. Understand that I'm way behind on emails. I'm way behind on WhatsApps because a lot of people send me things that are just nonsensical. Other people claim to watch my channel. Obviously don't, because I answer the questions almost every day that some of these people ask. So it's very frustrating. All right, so I'll get to those things as quick as I can, but I have 6 rugby broadcasts this weekend. Starting after this broadcast, the Stormers taking on the Osprey at DHL Greenpoint Stadium. Should be an easy win for the Stormers, but hey, nothing's ever in the bag. Let's see how it goes. A programming announcement on Sunday. Chris Ehlers will be with us. And for those who are curious, Chris will be telling us about transgenderism, a personal experience, a personal journey. So thank you for the mods putting that in there. Oh, Wills, I haven't seen you in a while. Forgot you're a mod. Thank you for putting it in there. Yeah, so Chris Ehlers will join us on Sunday. We haven't set the time yet, but I will set it up for transgenderism, a personal journey. So I will ask people to be respectful. This is a person's experience in their life, and it's not always been easy. Chris's transition and detransition, and we're going to talk about that. When Chris first came on the program as a commentator in the chat a couple years ago, came in as Christine, and then switched over to Chris. So we'll talk about Herr Janssen van Rensburg. Good evening. Hey, good to see you again. 51 months. My goodness. Why am I not hearing my speakers? There they are. They're turned off. Okay, welcome back, folks. Now, I need to I need to start the broadcast with the following. Recently, I saw a video by the Sunnyside Howler. The Sunnyside Howler on TikTok, who's also very active on Twitter, posted a video in which the person used the personal tragedy of the Langton family and Jay having developed surgical cancer as a cudgel to try to lie and mislead and spread propaganda about the refugee program, making the argument that the grass isn't greener and that, I got free care in South Africa. Well, wonderful for you, you got free care. I can give you the names of dozens of people who claim that their family members have died or suffered ignominious sufferings in state-run hospitals in South Africa. And I said the reason they did that is because the state-run hospitals are racist and pathetic. But of course, the Sunnyside Howler heard what she wanted to hear and then made another slanderous video attacking me, saying that I said South Africa's racist. Well, I did say that the state hospitals are racist. Some of them are, and many of the employees are. But I also said pathetic. And today, the title of this video is when the Sunnyside Howler said, well, where's the evidence? I said, read the frickin' newspapers. Once again today, the Independent Online runs a story about a patient in a hospital who was starved to death due to the negligence of staff there. That would be the very epitome of my statement that the hospitals that are run by the state are pathetic. Pathetic. So put that in your pipe, Sunnyside Howler Prowler, and smoke it. Anyway, those losers who just make stuff up and spread propaganda call other people who are honest misinformation experts. Well, yeah. Anyway, there you go. I just had to send that. Let me say hello to some people in the chat before we get into this very quickly here. There's a lot of folks here. Thank you for the 294. George is here, Debbie Fox, CMM, John Lamprecht. I don't know if you know that CMM. I'm sure that's your initials or something like that. But I used to work for a program called Cryptologic Mission Management, CMM, at the National Security Agency. Jean Lambrecht, Gordon van Rensburg, Belinda Parr, Tunes Kotze, expat family Joubert, Andre Mostard is here, Luis Duplessis, Angelique, Estelle, Jacob, Charles Van Olsen, the voice of reason, Mad Max is back, LZ van Royen, Merlot, is that like the wine? And AJ Quinn, Mad Max, what else? The call was from Kenya, lady was very helpful, yeah. Sean Velkommen, welcome to you, Sandra Yonk. By the way, also program announcement, probably on Tuesday, we'll have a refugee who's arrived in the States talking about their experiences. Possibly another one next week. So that's three interviews. Also, I'm going to reach out to Rob Hersoff and see if I can't get him on sometime soon. Maybe we can get some people to realize we're still here. Cherry, welcome to you. Here we go. Sandra Yonk, Ingrid's Inspirations, LDS, Matt Max, I already said, Edward Gaiba, Manny van Royen, Philip Holtz, Rebecca, Vanadette Conaway, Ian Moon, Steve64, Andre Nell, Chief Wolf. Why is my phone flashing over here? Phone keeps flashing. Great for everyone who assists the program, especially President Trump. Thank you, Madeline. Appreciate that. Werner van der Mave, Janine, D, Retha Milan. Welcome to Retha. And then who else? Dylan Combrick, Yolande Cilliers. I missed you earlier. I see you there now. Was in armed robbery. Oh, my goodness. Tied up 38. That's horrible, Yolande. So you said a long time, but I mean, that's an incident. You weren't tied up for days, were you? I'm sorry to hear that happened to you. Lana van Ensborg. Okay. Email should be available. They mentioned it. Neil Yardbird sent me stuff on interviews. Okay, that's the stuff from the UK. Nikki Sten, welcome to you. The UK stuff should be explosive. Mad Max. Gerd Gillich, du alte Knabe, wo bist du denn eigentlich jetzt in Somerset West? Gail von Walsleben. Well, that's an interesting name. And then was hard last week. Monday had my orientation yesterday. Okay, yeah, I bet you're ready to go. Liesel Grunewald, welcome back to you. Leona Watley, Patrick, Rena Watt, Erlos Goy. Karian Besta, Lindy is back. People were wondering about Lindy last week. Johan Barnard, welcome to you. Okay, that was before we got started. Sync Master Ludwig, John Spence. Make sure I didn't miss anybody here. Zipping through. Nicola's here. Hey, how's it going to Belito? Chris, there's Chris Ehlers right there. And 1440. Uman Nell, welcome to you. Phoenix, Annette Apple, and there you go. All right, guys, I think I've got everybody that I can get to. I might miss people. It wasn't a summary. There you go. Almost missed that one. And Vilma Rasmus, there's another OG. Vilma's been around forever. Ingrid says, I can put my hand up as well as state run non-care. Also been in a situation where food was withheld from me, asking why. Answer was, I can go without. Others need it with. Yeah, exactly. See, that is just abuse. That is fireable offense. It's prosecutable. Nikki Oliver lost my 27-year-old cousin and her newborn baby. Oh my gosh, Nikki Oliver, that's terrible. Wow, Mia Thomas, welcome to you. All right, folks, lots of news to get to. I am wearing a shirt today that's nothing to do with rugby kit. It's from out west. Only you can prevent forest fires. Smokey the Bear. Yep. So I couldn't resist buying a Smokey the Bear t-shirt when I was out there. I loved Smokey the Bear when I was a kid. It's the story of a little bear cub who was, his mother was burned in a fire and perished, and he was burnt, and they rescued him and raised him up and became a cult figure, Smokey the Bear. I'm doing okay. A little bit of build up here in the chest, but I'm okay. Hang on a second. I probably got people sending me. Yeah, here we go. More nonsense. Anyway, yeah, so more nonsense with the VFW. Right, so let's get back to the news, or let's get to the news. So, the people who selectively report on what I cover, the people who decide that they want to use me to fit their narrative, to call me names, never tell the truth about the things I report. When I find out about bad things that happen to South Africans, as long as it's not gratuitous, I tend to tell people about it. So here's a case in point. A 13-year-old child was beaten to death because she was accused of stealing when she didn't steal in Khayelitsha. The inhumanity, the shameful behavior of people in this world is unbelievable. 13-year-old girl dies after being beaten for burglary. Zukanye Zuzu Nkabeni, 13, left her Khayelitsha home to collect clothes that she had borrowed from a friend last week. Later that night, she was dead. Borrowed from a friend. Okay, collect means her friend borrowed her clothes. So, you see, this is the problem with misusing English. And South Africans do this all the time, so do Africans. You don't borrow something to someone. You lend something. And see, that's why the sentence makes no sense whatsoever in English. It sounds like she went to collect the clothes. That means she lent the clothes. She lent the clothes to her friend. She went to collect her own clothes, apparently, and was beaten to death for it. Unbelievable. Police are investigating circumstances around her death. According to family, she told her mother before succumbing to her injuries that she had been accused of burglary and beaten with planks and a broomstick. With the help of a neighbor and family friend member who could speak some English, the relative said no one had been home when the girl had arrived at the friend's house in Harare that day. She let herself in because the door was unlocked. According to them, the friend's mother and two women found her there. She was assaulted and told she had entered without permission. Her mother, Unati, said she received a call shortly after 9:30 on Friday in which she was told by the friend's mother to fetch her daughter. She said that when she arrived at the house, she called, but there was no response. She went inside and found her daughter lying on a couch with a tray of tablets on a table next to her. Zuzu had to be helped out of the house because she couldn't walk properly. When I collected my child, my friend's mother came in from the backyard. She took tablets for the pain and the beating. The woman had admitted to beating her because they found her in the house. While we attempted to walk, she wet herself and was dragging her feet. She kept saying she just wants to sleep, but I kept talking to her to make sure she stays with me. When we got to the police station, he told me to take her to the hospital, so we took the Uber to Khayelitsha District Hospital. Her heartbroken mother said doctors tried to help, but it was too late. By midnight, she was pronounced dead. I mean, this angers me to no end, folks. I'm actually holding back tears right now about this. This is a 13-year-old girl who loaned a friend clothing, went to collect it, and was beaten to death. And even if she went there to steal, vigilantism is not the answer. This is disgusting. This happens every day in South Africa because the moral decay, the slimy moral decay under the African National Congress, the zero respect for life. Beautiful little girl, 13 years old. And even if she wasn't attractive, this is disgusting. Look at this. She's dead. Her life is over. Who beats a child to death? There must be consequences for these people. Who raises people to think it's okay to assault someone because they enter your home? She presented no threat as a 13-year-old. She wasn't armed. Meanwhile, the Sunnyside Howler and her Flying Monkey Circus run around and attack people who cover stories like this and ignore the stories that we cover like this about the horrible things happening in South Africa. The moral decay is beyond recognition. No one should lose their life in this fashion, especially a 13-year-old girl. I'm not going to blame the mother, but I would never let my 13-year-old girl leave at 9:30 at night or leave in the evening. Yes, it's infuriating when 440. I'm shocked that News 24 actually carried the story because they rarely carry these stories, and then we get blamed for not reporting on it. It is beyond brutal, but it is South Africa. It is a broken country, a failed state, a third world disaster heap, a dumpster fire of democracy, South Africa. This child is dead. And she was in such pain, she said, I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep. This is South Africa. This is the true face of South Africa. This and corruption and racism. Those, vigilantism, xenophobia, corruption, and racism is the true face of South Africa and its victims every day. According to Independent Alliance, South African banks are complicit in enabling organized crime. Well, I don't doubt that at all. As the Madlanga Commission hearing presses further into the grave allegations that criminal syndicates and drug cartels have penetrated South Africa's law enforcement, it's impossible to ignore that none of this could have flourished without unimpeded movement by vast illicit funds. The flow of money is the bloodstream that sustains organized crime. South Africa's placement on the Financial Action Task Force Grey List in 2023 for weaknesses in money laundering and counter-terrorist financing networks now appears to have been more than a bureaucratic inconvenience. It was a warning. As I said at the time, the South African government lied to you and said they just failed to submit reports. I told you that South Africa has been a conduit for terrorism financing for over 25 years. The terrorists operate from South Africa and funnel their money to the Middle East and to other parts of the world to commit terror acts. And the South African government does nothing to stop it. They have a counter-terrorism financing unit, but they do nothing to stop it. Thank you, Emerencia Quinn, for your membership. So, this is the true face of South Africa we reveal today. Now, it's not South Africans, it's a small number, but plenty. Now, this is a comical headline, and this is what's making it around the leftist news today. Abducted. People commit maritime crimes, and they're detained for their crimes, and they're called as abducted. When you're a criminal and law enforcement or the military apprehends you, you have not been abducted. You have committed a maritime crime, and therefore you're being held and detained correctly. 6 South Africans now in Israeli custody after being abducted off humanitarian flotilla. Activist Kari Shelver was joined by South Africans Nkosi Mandela, Zukwizi Warner, Reyes Mula, Zanir Sumar, and Dr. Fatima Hendricks under, hey Hendo, is that a friend of yours? Under Israeli detention. The number of South Africans abducted by Israeli forces as they sailed on an international flotilla to break Israel's crippling siege on Gaza has risen to 6. It was confirmed that activist Kari Shelver from the Eastern Cape in Johannesburg is currently living in Switzerland. Oh, wow, living in Switzerland. What a rough life that. By the way, fix those teeth, lady. Good Lord, look at those teeth and that nose ring. What's with your hair? What happened to your hair? They're not abducted. They've been detained for maritime crimes, impeding maritime traffic. Nikki I was at a complete loss at how no one was reporting how severe South Africa become. Then I stumbled into one of your live chats. I discovered the truth report. Well, thank you, Nikki. It's true. I don't want to say bad things. I try to say as much positive stuff I can about South Africa, but this is the reality. This is reality. We have vigilantes murdering people who are falsely accused of rape, beating to death with cinder blocks in Kailicha. Not today, but a couple years ago. That's what spoiled brat Greta gets for messing around in war zone. Exactly, Thomas. Exactly. Malema is proud to be a guilty, convicted criminal. Well, of course he's proud to be a guilty, convicted criminal because he's a criminal. Criminals they're psychopaths. They have no compunction, no remorse. President Dassey said the crimes in Gaza is crimes against humanity. He's blinded by his fat sour. No, he's blinded by his fat ass, Miss Bota. Yep, blinded by his fat ass. So, the Sunnyside Howler accused me of lying about South Africa's healthcare system and state-run healthcare system, but I didn't. I told the truth. And I said, if you don't believe me, read the newspapers every day. And here we go. Here's a story. Tembisa starved to death. Allegation. Tembisa hospital corruption. Mother demands arrest after son starved to death. In the aftermath of the devastating corruption scandal at Tembisa, Shoanisani Letole's mother is calling urgent arrest and accountability, blaming fraudulent activities for her son's untimely death after being starved by the hospital. In July, while battling COVID at Tembisa Hospital, businessman Shoanisani Letole took to Twitter to urgently appeal then Health Minister Dr. Zwelin Kizi, describing an unbearable experience. The staff don't seem to care, and I didn't eat for 48 hours. Tragically, he passed away just 5 days after posting that tweet, prompting friends and colleagues to voice their outrage at the Gauteng Department of Health on social media. Following these public outcries, Mkhize lodged a formal complaint with the health ombudsman, who launched an investigation. In 2021, the ombudsman included that Shoshani had received a substandard and negligent care that contributed directly to his death, asserting that it could have been avoided. I'm sorry, Bianca. You want evidence? You want fucking proof? There it is. There's your proof. Dig your little sorry ass out of the corner prowling and pay attention to what's actually happening in South Africa, you leftist propagandists, and stop slandering me. There's your proof. Every freaking day in a South African newspaper, more stories about hospital abuse. I was correct when I said that the state-run hospitals are racist and pathetic. That's pathetic. No one should starve to death in a hospital. And oh, by the way, this is his mother. Look, I don't mean to blame victims, but she doesn't look like she's starving. Why wasn't she getting food to him in the hospital? Why wasn't she getting food to him in the hospital? How do people starve to death in the hospital? They're full of food. Negligence. And hiring people based on this, not based on competence and qualifications. Based on this, not based on talent. This is how people starve in hospitals. This is when you have a racist government that hires incompetent people solely because of their skin color. This is the outcome. People starving to death. People dying of infectious disease. People wasting away in hospitals. Disgusting. And now you want to take over healthcare and give it to the government, which has already dicked it up for most South Africans. Zweli Mkhize launched an investigation into Shoshishan. Well, Zweli Mkhize, that's from 5 years ago. That's a story from 5 years ago. 5 years ago, they covered this story. So, Sunnyside Howler, there you go. Well, here's a comical story in business tech claiming that the rand should be 11 to the dollar. Sometimes the news is just entertaining, folks. The South African rand is far weaker than it should be. Its fair value potentially as low as 11.3 to the dollar. I'm sorry. That doesn't make any sense. Frederick Mitchell, chief economist at the Capital, argued that mismanagement, poor investment sentiment, and geopolitical tensions create a large risk premium embedded in the currency. He noted that when calculating against purchasing power parity, a measure that factors the inflation difference between South Africa and the U.S. over the past 5 years, the rand should be much stronger. No. The rand should be 30 to 1. Unbelievable. Well, you're going to see a lot more of this as the AI and the deepfakes continue. A YouTube video spins fiction around Nathi Mthethwa's death as conspiracies fill the vacuum. Yep, a YouTube video with over 100,000 views about the death of Mthethwa in Paris from a known fake news channel claims leaked DNA, metadata, and a Paris cover-up. Are they going to identify the channel? Let's see if they identify the channel here. Oh, Mzansi Secrets. Some are anecdotal, fueled by social media speculation, political commentary. Others are more deliberate. In one YouTube channel, Mzansi Secrets has attempted to capitalize on the uncertainty and with outlandish claims packaged as exposés. In the latest video, reimagines his death as a professional hit job, citing supposed Paris leaks, foreign DNA, and message metadata. None of those details appear in official statements. Yep. So it's going to be even harder and harder to believe who is telling the truth because of this nonsense. 10% of the population, over 10%, Paul declared. South Africa's total population is 63 million, and you have 8,500,000 people with HIV. They don't have AIDS, though. Trevor Manuel has issued a warning after another deep fake. South Africa's former finance minister, Trevor Manuel, has warned about a scam making rounds, which features a deep fake of him. Yep. He works for Old Mutual's board since 2015, and he serves as chairman. They warned the public that a high sophisticated investment scam is making rounds on Facebook and possibly other social media. The scam features Manuel's fake likeness. It's come to my attention there are social media posts using my image and artificial voice and pretending to either give people investment advice, or requesting that they invest in products that I advise them to. I advise you not to do that. Stay away from it. Folks, if you take your investment advice from social media, then you deserve to lose every penny you've got. That you're just foolish. You're a fool to yourself. That's not where you get your advice. Notice I never offer investment advice here. I can. I know how to make money investing, but I don't because that's not my role here. You ask me to comment on a particular asset, I'll comment on it, but I don't make this an investment channel. I do not offer that because that's for you to decide. Jacob Zuma and the MK Concord challenge to the commission scant, devoid of material evidence. Now, why is Jacob Zuma and the MK party trying to stop Mkwanazi's inquiry? Why are they trying to stop the inquest into corruption in the police? Could it be because Jacob Zuma was complicit in this? Frick says the clinic in Wausau, Wisconsin is better than any hospital I visited in South Africa. Well, I mean, Wisconsin's a pretty lame place, so that's pretty good. Just kidding. Wisconsin's fine. So, Jay-Z is trying to stop the commission. In July, the Constitutional Court dismissed Zuma and the MK's urgent court challenged the establishment of the commission as well as Police Commissioner Senzo Mkunu's placement on special leave. The court today handed down its reasons. And Elmarie Mayer, on Portrait FM, there is a video of a taxi driver who beat up a man because he had dropped off someone who worked for him. Yeah, because, he's using his car instead of a drive. Yeah, this is sick. And this is another problem. People are giving people rides or taking their kids to school in their own cars, and the taxi industry feels that they're being robbed, so they're assaulting people in the streets. This is sick. South Africa's gone, folks. You need to take your country back. You need to take your country back from these criminal syndicates. Anyway, Jay-Z loses. Senzo Mkunu now appear before the ANC Integrity Commission. ANC Secretary General Fikile Mabulu says suspended police minister Senzo Mkunu and other members accused of wrongdoing will appear before the party's Integrity Commission. Mkunu is implicated in alleged political interference in the criminal justice system. I'm curious, could the ANC internal commission, their internal investigators, could they simply deal with people who are incompetent? Tani Pat, Fikile Mabulula, Ronald Lamola, Angie Mocheke. Get a broom and sweep them away. Get a broom and sweep them away. They're incompetent. How about your Integrity Commission get rid of incompetent people too? Well, Kenny Kunene has received, he revived his feud with Julius Malema. Yeah. Found guilty of reckless endangerment and discharging a firearm. Juju sentencing is set for January. Kenny Kunene posted on Twitter calling Malema Bilton and referring to his past, continuing their ongoing public feud. They were both involved in a defamation case, with Kunene previously ordered to apologize for calling Malema a cockroach and currently facing another lawsuit over cigarette smuggling allegations. Calling Juju a cockroach. Really? Did you call him a cockroach? He did call him a cockroach. Kenny Kunene called Julius Malema a cockroach. I just call him a grifter. KwaZulu-Natal's Premier Ntuli discloses alleged corruption in health, transport, and arts and culture. No, say it isn't so. Corruption in KZN. No, I don't believe it. It must be fake news. The ANC has never done any corruption. They're not guilty of corruption. Who came up with that nonsense? KwaZulu-Natal Premier Tami Ntuli announced the suspension of Transport Department head in connection with a $672 million public transport tender. What did I say 2 weeks ago when someone said to me about corruption? I said, every day there's a new scandal in South Africa. The trillions of rand looted from South Africa is mind-boggling. It will stop your heart if you actually see the amount. Wow. Oh, boy. So, there is a concerted effort in the legacy fake stream media and amongst public officials to rubbish the commission investigating police corruption, alleged police corruption. Why? Because they want it to go away. So they want to discredit it. Do you think the Madlanga Commission is compromised? Ooh, we're already hearing this. The postponement of the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of criminality, corruption, police interference has raised concerns. The Commission announced on Wednesday it would be taking a break and resume hearings in October due to the unavailability of Commissioner Seze Boloye, who will be attending her duties as a member of the Judicial Service Commission, where Julius Malema is a member. This week's hearings also had to be adjourned due to the sudden illness of crime intelligence boss Kumalo, who was supposed to continue his testimony. Other issues raised concerns were the departure of Commission Chief Evidence Leader Terry Motau. So, do you think the Commission is compromised? Or do you think the media are just trying to create a fake story? I'll go for the latter. Mothers and fathers can share maternity leave. How can dads have maternity leave? Do they miss the point that they're dudes? The Constitutional Court has given the thumbs up to groundbreaking 2023 High Court judgment allowing two parents to share maternity leave that was previously reserved for biological mothers. So the dad can take time off too. Soft, namby-pamby countries. Boy, the Africans marching across the veld, avoiding leopards and cheetahs and lions back in the day didn't take maternity leave. They popped them out, they cut the cord, they stuck it on the nipple, and they picked up and they moved on. Yep. And now we need 4 months of maternity leave. Soft, weak human beings who will pass on their pathetic DNA to next generations and weaken the human species. Well, Chinese Great Wall Motors is considering building plants in South Africa because people keep buying these crappy cars. Wow. Chinese automaker Great Wall Motors and Chery plan to start assembling vehicles in South Africa to meet a spike in demand. Vehicles rose 24% year on year to 54,000, set to return to pre-COVID levels for the first time in 2025. Chery's on track to nearly double sales in South Africa this year to as many as 39,000 units. They'll make a decision on what's known as a complete knockdown plant in 3 to 6 months. We're almost there. It can be greenfield. It can be a takeover. Companies importing fully built cars from China and India have rapidly grown its share in South Africa because people can't afford proper cars, so they buy the garbage from Asia. Well, the Gaza flotilla, the opinion, and it's clearly labeled opinion, got to give them credit for that, Times Live. If the mission of the more than 500 activists who set sail for Gaza and the Mediterranean Sea were to force the world's political leaders to stop talking and take action, they've made great strides. It was, after all, a mission doomed to fail, but despite the odds, the activists had hope. In an article written by South African activists Zikwizwa Warner and Jared Sachs, now possibly awaiting deportation, having been arrested by the Israeli government on the open sea, their mission, in part, was to bring the eyes of the world on the escalating famine in Gaza. And that correctly states they were arrested by the Israeli government for committing crimes. They're not abducted. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Former Fijian Prime Minister has been found guilty of corruption. Frank Bainimarama seized power in military coup in 2006 and found guilty of threatening the police commissioner. Former Fijian Prime Minister has been found guilty of corruption charges for a second time, quashing his supporters' hopes that he might have been about to stage a political comeback. Meanwhile, the officer who succeeded him as commissioner has acquitted on 2 counts of abuse of office after the judge. Jean Spence, I highly believe the commission is compromised. They all have dirt on each other. Those sitting on it said was put out there by comrades. Thank you for the 70 Rand, Jean Spence. Clouds are gathering. Tata! Clouds are gathering, Tata. Clouds are gathering. Oh, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Well, the Czech Trump, yeah, that's who this guy is. That's what they call him. Populist tycoon. The party of Andrej Babis, former leader of the Czech government, is expected to prevail in parliamentary elections on Friday. 4 years ago, the Czech Republic voted out its populist, wealthy, scandal-singed prime minister known as the Czech Trump. Now echoing President Trump's own comeback, Andrej Babis, prime minister from 2017 to 2020, is poised to return to that office, potentially reviving a Eurosceptic government that experts say could trim military aid to Ukraine. His party, ANO, is expected to prevail in 2 days of parliamentary elections that begin Friday. The 71-year-old Babis is more interested in taking a transactional approach to the European Union than in forging sweeping foreign policies. Good for him. Good for him. Early snowfall damages power lines and snarls traffic in Bosnia and Serbia in the Balkans. Early snowfall in the Western Balkans left thousands of electricity and disrupted traffic. Heavy wet snow fell this week in hilly mountainous areas in Serbia and Bosnia, drowning power distribution lines and trees, while persistent rain in lower areas sparked fears of floods and mudslides. More than half a meter snow fell in higher altitudes. Wow, could reach a record in October. Finland has dismissed the charges against the Chinese crews. Accused of cutting undersea cables, a judge ruled that Finland did not have jurisdiction to prosecute a case against a ship believed to be part of Russia's shadow fleet. Really? A court in Finland dismissed a case on Friday against the crew of an oil tanker accused of cutting undersea cables in the Baltic last year, saying this country did not have jurisdiction. District Court in Helsinki said the damage was caused by negligence in maintaining the anchor, placing the incident under the jurisdiction of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. That means that if Finnish authorities wanted to pursue a criminal case, they would have to do so in the country where the ship was registered or in the defendant's native countries. The ship, the Eagle S, is registered in the Cook Islands, and the crew are from Georgia and India. So what the Finnish court is saying is that these criminals who intentionally destroyed undersea cable and crippled communications and internet capacity in Finland cannot be prosecuted by the Finns. Presumably because they're in international waters? I don't agree with that court ruling. Thousands in Italy are up in arms. The Italian country has also fallen to the Islamists. It's gone. The Islamist fanatics have taken over Italy, and they're out of control. Thousands in Italy angry and unhappy over Israeli interception of Gaza flotilla. But none of them are Italians. They're just scumbag immigrants. Well, welcome. Here we go again. Thank you for your membership, platoon level. I appreciate that. Scumbag immigrants. Not good immigrants, scumbag immigrants. A general strike across Italy in support of the Gaza flotilla disrupted trains and port traffic Friday, causing chaos for commuters as tens of thousands took the streets in protest. Demonstrators condemned the treatment of the global Samud flotilla that sailed to challenge Israel's blockade of Gaza. The Italian strike, called by the USB and CGRL unions, followed demonstrations Thursday in cities across the world, including Milan and Rome, where some 10,000 people marched in from the Colosseum. 10,000 people. We get more people to show up for a Stormers game. Drones have shut down the Munich airport. Wow, this is getting out of control. The European Union has proposed building a drone wall to counter threats after airspace breaches in Poland, Estonia, and other countries. Drone sightings at Munich International Airport shut flight operations late Thursday night into Friday morning in the latest of a series of drone scares in Europe that have prompted officials to urgently pursue new air defenses. The airport reported that German air traffic control restricted flights starting at 10:18 p.m. Thursday, then suspended them outright due to several drone sightings. 17 flights from Munich were unable to depart, affecting 3,000 passengers. 15 incoming flights were diverted to other cities. Flight operations resumed at 5 a.m. This is out of control. The economic toll of this is horrific. Some of those people were flying to see their dying parents and didn't make it. Now their parents have died. Some of them were going to see the birth of their child. Some of them were going for weddings. Some of them were going to execute billions of dollars of business deals. Some were going on holiday who no longer have their holiday, all because of some scumbag who flew a drone in restricted airspace. This needs to stop. This needs to stop. Well, after centuries, the Church of England has also gone woke. Yes, the Church of England now has a woman in charge of their evil Henry VIII Church. Sarah Mullally, the Bishop of London, has been appointed Archbishop of Canterbury. She has been a vocal supporter of the rights of women in the Church. The rights of women in the Church. Sarah Mullally, a one-time nurse who became the first female Anglican Bishop of London, was named on Friday as the 106th Archbishop of Canterbury, making her the spiritual leader of 85 million Anglicans worldwide and the first woman to occupy a history-laden post established more than 1,400 years ago. But the Anglican Church isn't 1,400 years old. Canada's Prime Minister, Mark Carney, will meet President Trump next week at the White House. Canadian Prime Minister is to hold face-to-face talks with the U.S. President at the White House. The meeting comes out of review of the free trade agreement, and Trump is engaging as a 51st state talk as Canada asked to be included in Trump's future Golden Dome missile program. You want a free ride in the Golden Dome? No. Canada added NORAD. Canada added NORAD. They don't want to participate. They don't want to carry their fair share. Then Canada added NORAD. They still don't spend their fair share of GDP on national defense. So until Canada steps it up, don't let them in the Golden Dome. Well, Terrebonne, one vote win. Postal code error on envelope unreported for 3 weeks. An election employee noted discrepancy in the postal codes of special ballot return envelopes in Terrebonne nearly 3 weeks before the election, but the error wasn't reported to superiors. Now, ladies and gentlemen, those who in the U.S. claim that postal voting is not fraudulent, does not cause problems and complications, are full of it. Here we have a case of Canada where a postal ballot had the wrong markings on it and was counted, and the incumbent lost the race by one vote. By that vote. Mail-in balloting is fraudulent and should only be reserved for military away from their home, government officials deployed overseas away from their home, people traveling at the time that the vote is held, and the infirm in care centers. That is it. No one else should have the privilege and right to mail-in vote. If you want to vote, pick your sorry ass up, go to the polling station and vote. It's that important. Natalie Sinclair Dachane filed a challenge to the federal election result in the riding of Terrebonne in Montreal's north suburbs. The incumbent lost by a single vote determined through judicial recount to current Liberal MP Tatiana Auguste after the seesaw battle. Legal action came after a local woman, Emmanuelle Bossa, said she mailed in her ballot in early April using an addressed envelope provided by elections, but it was returned to her as undeliverable. She said she was voting for Bloc Québécois. So the Liberals stole a seat because the Postal Service returned her ballot that she voted. She took the envelope saying stamped undeliverable. Undeliverable to the election office. Do you see how corrupt officials affect things? Or maybe it was just an error. But it points out why you have to go to the actual polling station. For the 443 people here, now I tell you how how media tell fairy tales about the military, okay? Now, this story is ludicrous, okay? Why the Military Times is reporting this is shameful. Military Times is a woke publication that brings disdain to the military, and military people shouldn't buy the Army Times or the Military Times or the Navy Times because they're just propaganda outlets. Here's a perfect example of this. Listen to this story. Minutes before and after the government shutdown. Military families seek out food assistance amid shutdown anxiety. So here's a photograph at the 5-star food market inside the Armed Services YMCA Killings location, showing empty shelves, desperation. When staff members arrived in their Armed Services YMCA food pantry distribution location near Fort Hood at 5 a.m. on Thursday, they found a line of military families stretched around the side of the building. That's not happened ever. We had a 34% increase this week over past weeks. The doors to the organization's locations opened at 6:30 to distribute free food, but there were so many people, some had to wait in line outside for safety reasons. All right, I'm going to look up pay chart right now. Okay. Generally speaking, people who are not non-commissioned officers and officers should not have families. You're too young to start a family. Now, some of these people enlist. There are lots of exceptions to this, but let me just take a look at this thing. Let me tell you what the current pay scale is, okay? Okay, pay. Military pay scale 2025, okay? A sergeant with 3 years. Let's say you get married after 3 years. A sergeant, 3 years. Okay, let's see what we got here. Okay, an E5 with 3 years makes the following before taxes. Okay, and they pay virtually no taxes. This is so little income. Hang on a second. Give me a second here. I need to pull up. There it is. Okay, $3,637 per month for a sergeant with 3 years of service experience, okay? So $3,637.50 times 19. That's 69,000 Rand a month. A sergeant with 3 years of military service makes 69,000 Rand per month times 12 months. That's 829,000 Rand per year. And these people are going to food pantries to get food? That's bullshit. Now, that's the salary. From that salary, a military member doesn't pay for housing. If they're a sergeant and they're not married, they live in the barracks, it's free. If they're a sergeant and live off post, they get housing allowance, BAH for a sergeant. Okay, let's go with Fort Hood, Texas. Basic allowance for housing, okay? That's not what I'm looking for. So, BH, okay. E4, let's go with E5. E5. No dependents, okay. All right. Around here, where I'm at, let me just try. I'll try. Fort Meade. Fort Meade. Fort Meade. A sergeant with no family members in Fort Meade, Maryland, makes more money in housing allowance than I got as a colonel just 6 years ago. $2,406 a month. Now you figure that that housing allowance is tax exempt because it's an allowance, not a pay. $2,406 per month. Add that to $3,600. That's over $5,000, $6,000 a month is what a sergeant with 3 years in the Army makes. 3 years. Are you serious? And they're getting food pantry? Again, people asking questions in here about refugee things. This is a news program. Stop chasing my viewers away. $2,406. When you consider that you're not paying taxes on it, that's more like $3,200 in income per month. You'd have to make $3,200 because of taxes in order to take home $2,406. So you add that to the $5,000 or $3,000. It's insane. And they're in food pantries. This is BS. This is total nonsense. That is more money than I made as a colonel. Let me see what I'd make as a colonel now if I was still on active duty. Stop that. Okay, let me just do this now, okay? 06. I would make $3,000 a month right now. I would make 57,000 Rand a month in housing allowance if I was still in the Army on active duty. That's $37,000 per year. That's half the annual income of the average person. Yes, I'm doing rugby tonight, Paul. I mean, it's already up. I posted it in the groups. I'm doing the Stormers in 45 minutes, and I'm doing the Sharks after that. Wow. And they're going to food pantries? I'm calling BS. I'm calling BS. This is a nonsensical story. The government shutdown started on Wednesday. Troops received their October pay, but anxiety is high. There's a lot of anticipated anxiety around potentially losing a paycheck. The military has always been paid. The military in previous shutdowns has always been paid. When I was in the military on active duty and we had a government shutdown, I received my pay on time. Always received my pay. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised this month to receive my retirement check from the Army. I didn't think I was going to get it because I'm not essential. Apparently I am, according to Trump. You're welcome, Paul. This is nonsense. It's unknown whether the shutdown will last long to affect service members' October 15th paycheck. My message to any military family today is go out and seek food pantry help. It may alleviate the line item in their budget. My advice to military families is control your spending and learn proper financial habits. Live within your means. No military member should be at a food pantry or on food stamps. There's no justification for that. Everyone makes sufficient amount of money to survive. Stop buying iPhones. Stop getting 75-inch television screens. Stop living beyond your means and then begging for food. I was in E5. I made less than 30 or less than 25%. My take-home pay or my salary was $996 a month as a sergeant. $996. There's $30,600 a month. 3.5 times what my salary was. And they can't make it. I made on $996 a month and saved money and put money in the bank and traveled all over Europe on $996 a month. No, credit cards should not be made illegal. No. People need to learn to be responsible. My credit card's paid off every single month. And I get great benefit from them. Ease of travel, ease of payment. Yeah, no. You shouldn't shut credit cards off. Well, the government shutdown is ongoing here, folks, in the States. Thank you, Erica, for the 70 Rand. Clouds are gathering. I didn't see that. It's early in the month and very slow. The money is really, those who think that this is done for money really don't get it because the money has been like this. May, June, July, August, September, October. Pretty soon I'm going to have to pay you to watch my program. Mad Max, 35 Rand Super Chat. Thank you so much for that. Pretty soon I'll have to pay my viewers for it. Yep. South African soldier awarded UN medal, but they reveal nothing about his death. Major Tola Peterse received a posthumous UN peacekeeping medal after being murdered by an unregistered hand grenade. Imposed a ban on releasing the investigator reporting the death of Major Peterse. This means either the Defense Force nor the UN may share the report with his widow. So he's murdered by a fellow South African soldier, and they won't tell her why. Yeah, I remember that story. So he was murdered, and they won't tell her why. Unbelievable. So the Senate was supposed to vote for the third time today, and, of course, the Democrats are not playing. So they're deadlocked. Third day. The Senate was set to reconvene today to vote on whether to take up dueling proposals to reopen the government, but neither is expected to win the bipartisan backing needed to end the 3-day-old shutdown. And this is because you have to have 60 votes to avoid a filibuster, but there's only 55 votes, so they're short. P. Diddy getting sentenced. The hip-hop mogul is expected to be sentenced today on 2 counts of transporting people across state lines for prostitution. He was acquitted of sex trafficking 2 of his girlfriends. Debbie Fox, 350 Rand Super Chat. The clouds are gathering. Thank you, Debbie. Where's Arctic at? I haven't seen Arctic today. Sean Combs, hip-hop mogul, scheduled period in court. The hearing comes after an 8-week trial where the jury delivered a split verdict. He was acquitted of sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy charges that could have carried a life sentence. He was convicted of 2 prostitution-related charges that carry a maximum sentence of 10 years each. The defense has asked for no more than 14 months imprisonment. The prosecution wants 11 years. Well, shutdowns have delayed the jobs report here in the United States. And, of course, when the Democrats shut down the government, or Republicans shut down previously, there's no mention about the impact. Yeah, now they want to go after Trump. Policymakers have been watching for signs of a cooling job market, rising unemployment, worsening inflation are weighing on the economy. 3 days into government shutdown, it's increasingly unclear where the U.S. economy is headed. No, it's fine with me. I just came from Yellowstone. So many people packed in Yellowstone at a time when the park is usually almost empty shows me the economy is not poor. Drive around Salt Lake City, the economic activity, the building boom in Twin Falls, the building boom, economic activity, people shopping everywhere, all the stores full of people at all hours of the day. I don't know what planet they're on, but U.S. economic activity looks pretty darn good from an anecdotal perspective. Well, the Iowa scumbag, who was an illegal alien criminal, is charged with possessing guns while in the U.S. illegally. Ian Andre Roberts and the woke, pink-haired Karen leftist in Des Moines are defending this criminal. He had a gun in his Jeep, according to authorities, and took it to school every day. The superintendent of Iowa's largest school district recently arrested for allegedly being an illegal immigrant. No, he's not allegedly, he is. And he had a deportation order, which means he's illegal. Has been charged with illegal possession of firearms. He's been fired by the Des Moines Public School, fled from Immigration Customs Enforcement on the morning of September 26, according to charging docs. He later abandoned his Jeep Cherokee. Roberts was located in the brush nearby and taken into custody. Officers searching the Jeep located a gun wrapped in a towel under the driver's seat. Federal agents said the affidavit supporting the charge against Roberts made public on October 1st. It was a 9mm Glock. A search of his home revealed 3 additional firearms, including a Remington 270 rifle and, in the case of the closet, master bedroom. Declaration tags issued by Southwest and found the resident stated that 2 of the guns belonged to Ian Roberts. How in the world can this scumbag have guns purchased in his name when he's a criminal alien invader? The Democrats want gun control. I want gun control too. I want illegal aliens not to be able to buy guns in Iowa. Who the hell lets illegal aliens buy guns in Iowa? Whose social security number was he using? What kind of vetting process did the Des Moines pink-haired Karen Tanis use to hire this illegal alien scumbag? Their collective idiotic white guilt allows them to have this clown in the school as a superintendent, carrying a gun to school every day? Wow. What do you mean? Why does the DA hate everything that will make America a better country? What DA? The Democratic Alliance? Excuse me. What did Quid say? Now I'm curious. What did Quid say? Somebody said Quid's... Oh, there it is. Who cares about rugby anyway? We're going to keep us safe in the program. Well, Quids, whoever responded to that is a crap attitude. Who cares about it? Because I work my ass off. And I'm trying to get subscribers over there. A lot of people care about rugby. If you don't care about it, then fine. But don't be rude. No reason to be rude. I care about rugby. I care about it immensely. If you haven't picked up on that, then I don't understand why you watch my channel. Yes, living frugally is a sign of responsibility and living within your means. Exactly. Silent Bob! Where's Jay? Clouds gathered. It's raining now. You have my thanks to him for your continued support, even though the cloud of trolls is aspiring cargo. Well, thank you, Silent Bob. Well, that's some serious clouds are grabbing there. Where's Arctic at? He's going to love this. A lot of clouds gathering that one. Thank you so much for that one. Really do appreciate it, Silent Bob. Where's Jay? Silent Bob. Look at this guy. This was the superintendent of the Des Moines. By the way, Iowa's like 97% white, in case you didn't know that. This is our superintendent. This guy. That hair. Superintendent. You're supposed to take him seriously. Had a job, being paid 6 figures. He's a criminal alien invader who was ordered deported from the country 2 years ago, nearly 2 years ago. And he's still here. And they're defending him. They're defending him. Well, the Trump administration is withholding $2.1 billion in federal funds from Chicago. Yes. Oh, happy days. Withhold the money. Withhold the money. That's right. The administration has been freezing funds for projects in Democratic-led cities and states during the government shutdown. The Trump administration has frozen $2.1 billion in federal funds allocated for Chicago in its latest budgetary maneuver targeting Democratic priorities and projects during the ongoing government shutdown. It was meant to fund subway projects in Chicago. Put on hold to ensure funding is not flowing via race-based contracting. Exactly. Yep, good. So what will J.B. Tubbelard Pritzker have to say about this? Probably nothing. Probably nothing. Immigration judge has rejected MS-13 member Kilmar Abrego Garcia's asylum bid. The criminal alien can appeal the decision. No, it's not going to win. An immigration judge in Maryland, of all places, rejected a motion filed by Kilmar Garcia's attorneys to reopen his 2019 petition for asylum. An illegal immigrant from El Salvador was deported to his homeland in March by the Trump administration, later returned to the United States under a Supreme Court order. He initially sought asylum in 2019 but was denied. So, send him to Eswatini. Hepatitis B is the only vaccine given at birth. It was virtually eliminate childhood infections, a disease that doesn't only transmit through drugs or sex. It's the first and only shot most U.S. babies receive, the hepatitis B vaccine, a constant for decades in the U.S. Newborn care that doctors say is responsible for virtually eliminating childhood disease, cases of the disease. It's a liver infection. It causes scarring, failure, and cancer. Infants and children are far more likely than adults to develop chronic infections. People think you can only get hepatitis B through intravenous drug use or sexual activity, and that's actually not true, says Dr. Sean O'Leary. It's a very highly transmittable virus. Really? I don't know anybody that ever got hepatitis when I was a kid. I didn't get my hepatitis vaccination until I was an adult from the Army. Thank you, Mad Max. Just received protests outside U.S. Consulate at Santon. Law enforcement security companies are monitoring. Okay, I didn't see that anywhere. Thank you. Appreciate that. So they're protesting outside the embassy. What? Gaza? Refugees? Quids, did you leave because I said something? You shouldn't leave. What do Democrats and Republicans want the government shut down? Well, Democrats say they're protecting health care subsidies, which Republicans say would restore loopholes, and they're correct. Yep. Republicans controlling both houses of the Congress. Democrats lack the numbers to pass legislation, but they retain leverage in the Senate where they need 60 votes to advance the spending bill. They're using that leverage to continue the Unaffordable Care Act subsidies, which we don't want. Cracker Barrel has fired the ad agency for its stupid logo replacement. It cost the company about $100 million. Restaurant chain Cracker Barrel Old Country Store is ending its relationship with the agency responsible for its recent logo redesign and restructuring its leadership and organization. California-based strategic and creative growth consultancy Profit had advised the company on its brand fresh initiatives, including recent logo and restaurant redesigns that triggered widespread opposition. It cost the company $100 million in capitalization, not to mention how much it cost the company in actual sales. Yep, on August 19th, the shares were at $59, and then Thursday, they were only at $44 a share. Yep, there you go. All right, that's the news for today, folks. I can entertain questions now. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Before we do that, I want to make sure that I route you to Rugby Ascendant after this for those who want to go. Quids doesn't want to go because Quids doesn't care for rugby, and that's fine. That's Quids' prerogative. But some of you might want to go watch my rugby coverage, and you are welcome to do that. So this will get you there automatically as soon as I set up. We have to put the correct name in all the way. Okay, Stormers versus Osprey. All right, so now you'll get there. 2 emails from Air Contractors yesterday, says Candace. Okay. Again, my analysis of the contractors is that they shouldn't be affected. They shouldn't be affected as long as they have a workload that was presented to them by American employees. I don't know which Americans are being furloughed or being laid off, but they're under contract, and that money was already allocated. So they should be able to continue their work in the short term anyway. It looks like that's the case. But what's your take on the Trump RFK? I don't know about aluminum vaccines. I know aluminum is in underarm deodorant, antiperspirant, but I don't know about aluminum in Tylenol. That's news to me. My take on Trump and RFK, the whole thing is silly. You shouldn't be taking medication you don't need to take, and you should be taking medication, sparingly. Tylenol, I have Tylenol right here with me. I've been taking Tylenol for years, but I rarely take it. I try to avoid it. I deal with a headache as long as possible. I just think it's a waste of energy. They shouldn't be spending time on that. They should be spending time on other things. Sarita Flip, welcome to you. Conrad Goodenoise, Nick, nice to see. Okay. Cracker Barrel got way more publicity that's done with formal. That's true, 1440, but it cost them a lot of market share. Not market share, but capitalization, market capitalization. Andre is looking forward to the rugby. Okay. As a kid, I got jabbed that looked like a little round flower. All I know is that is the polio vaccination. When we were kids, I have a polio scar too, but it's almost unseeable. You can barely see it here. When we were younger, they gave a vaccination which ripped the skin and it left these horrible scars, daisy-looking scars. Some people, it's really bad. It's usually up about here. Mine's down around here, and it's almost imperceptible. Many people who were born before 1970 have this hideous scar on their arm for polio vaccine. Even Tylenol said pregnant women. Exactly. That's right, Chief. So why is Trump and why are RFK going out there and saying, hey, pregnant women shouldn't take it? Tylenol tells you not to do that. It's silly. Got my last call from Kenya today off the embassy. Well, Andre, I wouldn't share that information when you're off the embassy, but thank you for that. Why does he look like Malema? Who looks like Malema? On your left leg, that's unusual, Mez. Yep, Charles got him as a kid. The Amish do just fine without vaccines and live 10 years longer than the average. I don't know the average life expectancy of the Amish. I'd have to look that up. 1440s. Yeah, I'm almost gone. You can't see it at all. But many people, it's a hideous, really bad scar. It looks terrible. Also said environmental as a parent and child on the spectrum. This Tylenol issue should just be a word of caution. Exactly. Looks like it was done a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Marley, sorry to hear that. We got it in school. Also, children still got the vaccine in the 90s in school. That's in South Africa. We had oral polio vaccines here in the 1980s. I got a polio vaccine in the Army in 1983, in November of 1983, but it was oral. I took a pill. So glad that you're back in the studio. Thank you for keeping us informed. Welcome, Klaus. When you show your emotions when interviewing refugees, it warms the heart. Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I thought the interview that we had went very well. Thank you, Mad Max, for another 35 Rand. What bugs me most about this is TDS, people taking it. This lady that died, I'm not sure if her child made it. I don't know about that story. Excuse me. Pro-Palestinian supporters gather outside U.S. consulate in Santon. Okay. Okay, well, the U.S. consulate, they mean the U.S. embassy. That's what they mean. They were chanting pro-Palestinian slogans while holding placards reading Free Palestine. Well, we have nothing to do with Palestine, so fuck off. Group 100, more than 100 hate wankers gathered outside the consulate in Santon, calling for the release of global Smood flotilla. Well, we aren't holding them. Go talk to the Israelis. We are outside the U.S. consulate because America is a key funder of the genocide. It's a key funder of the role to play in stopping the genocide. And you're key losers in life. So what's your point? Go away, losers. Go away, losers. Go away. Yeah, that's right, Charles. They tend to be largely isolated. There's not much interaction growing up. They don't go to public schools. They have their own schools. They're at home. So unless something finds in their community, it pretty much stays out. The rest of us go all over the world and interact with people all the time. Legal Alien says it was for women, and women don't listen, so they can take meds. Yeah, well, that's like women who still drink when they get fetal alcohol syndrome. Women who still dye their hair when they're pregnant. You can't dye your hair when you're pregnant. That's a no-go. That's a no-go. Let your gray show, lady. Let your gray show. You're popping out babies. You can't be putting chemicals in your hair. No. John Jarvis is back. Are you sure it was a polio injection? Well, yes, I'm sure it was a polio injection, John Jarvis. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm also sure it was an oral polio vaccine. Helen says, so glad you're back. Well, Helen, I never left. I've been broadcasting every single day. But you mean back in the studio? Yes, I'm back in the studio. And we start early today because the rugby comes on in 27 minutes. Does Israel have a consulate in South Africa? They have an embassy. They have an embassy in Hatfield. Why does AI show South Africa's racist? Well, Tanya Golis, because South Africa's government is racist. 145 laws racially discriminatory against South Africans. What do you call that? The parliament passed it. Now, most South Africans aren't racist. Only a small number actually are. But the country's political system definitely is. Hakeem Jeffries tried to live stream at millions. Only 36 people watched. Are you serious, Sean? I didn't see that. Hakeem Jeffries is an idiot. He's a fool. He's a fool of the highest order. He's another one of these race grifters. If you have vaccine scars, you still get them. Nikki, I still had a scar when I went in the Army, and I still got a jab. I got a jab for everything when I came in the Army. They didn't care if I had child immunization records. You got it all. You got it all. Yep. Only ever got the MMR vaccine growing up. Yeah, MMR, I've got that too. Stupidity vaccine. Well, that'd be helpful. Why is Greyhound so expensive? Because it costs a lot of money to operate that system. Malaria tablets in Angola. Yeah, I had the horrible malaria tablets, probably the same ones you had back in the day. They tasted awful. It's terrible. Ugh. Then they've come up since then because U.S. military is the leading researcher when it comes to malaria. Since then, we've had primaquine, mefloquine, Malarone, all these different things come out. Yep, so Malarone is once a week, but it's really rough on your liver. D doesn't have a scar. Well, that's cool. You're still sexy, D. Cool. What else we got here? Who looks like Malema? I never got that. The big heads maybe short their own company before the stunt and make money. You never know. Well, that's a good question, Karen, but you're a serious conspiracy theorist if you think that happened. Look, it's like Coke. Coke, people still to this day claim that Coke came up with the new Coke as just a marketing scam. By the way, there's Bert the Bison, in case you can't see him back there. There's Bert the Bison. Picked him up in Wyoming, in Yellowstone. Cracker Barrel got way more publicity. They did. Ave Burger, good evening to you. Okay, what else have I missed here? Also, don't like rugby, would support everything Chris does. Quids is a long timer. I'm sure he can give. Yeah, Quids can give his opinion. This just doesn't have to be rude. That's all. Quiz is welcome to share his opinion. All you are, as long as you're not rude. Sauer certain 50,000 knives detained as an illegal alien after they discovered he had a deportation order. $350,000, and the blue-haired, tanny, white, liberal, racist are protecting him. Oh, he was such a great superintendent. No, he's a criminal who took a gun to school every day in a gun-free zone. Where are the liberals? They want gun control? How about criminal alien invaders given $350,000 a year job? Supposed to have been deported almost 2 years ago in early 2024. $350,000 a year. What the hell is that? What's my opinion of the shutdown? It's typical. The Democrats, the Republicans better not cave on the $1.4 trillion additional spending. No more spending. Just a clean extension. How about a budget being passed? That's what I'd like to see. That's what I'd like to see. That's my opinion. Carolyn says, hope everyone had an amazing day. Well, that's cool. Oh, there's lots of illegal aliens with guns. MS-13, tons of them got guns. And Silent Bob with that big super chat. Then it all went quiet. Don't be chased away by Silent Bob's big super chat, folks. You too can super chat. Only you can prevent forest fires. Quid's gone? Quiz has been quiet. Amazon, Texas, you can see we are losing even more jobs. Yep. By the way, I went by a gift shop that had this pro-gay propaganda, and it also had all these signs, and they put the rainbow flag, and it says SL, Salt Lake, comma, UT, Utah, slut. They think that's funny. I didn't think it was very funny. $20 and I'll be here once a week, promises Tortoise. I'm not sure what that's about. So my credit card paid off as I use. Very seldom use a card. Well, Varushka, the thing about credit is you have to use it occasionally. I use credit consistently every month. That's why I use a credit card. Otherwise, your credit score will drop. I don't know how South Africa works, but in America, if you come to America, you gotta use your credit. Just use a little bit of it. Don't use a lot. But yeah. Otherwise, you lose your credit rating. All right. Official government YouTube channel secretary said that we are not allowed to seek a free immigration from the U.S. and that will probably be returned home when the NC problem has been resolved. I don't know what YouTube channel you're talking about there. It's not immigration, number one. So if it said immigration, it's fake news. You will not be returned to South Africa after the problem is resolved because the problem will never be resolved. It will take years to dismantle the damage done by South Africa's ANC that's caused this racial problem. And yes, in theory, you go home to South Africa, but what's the problem? See, it's not immigration. It's refugee. So you're supposed to go home when the problem's over. What's wrong with that? If you're no longer a threat of being murdered and you no longer have racial discrimination and everything's kumbaya, what does it matter? You can go home. Why would you be here? I wish all these refugees would go home. But their countries are broken, so they can't go home. None of them ever go home. Small number. Yep. So Alan That's the bottom line there. What channel is that? The fall of the Tang dynasty brought about the empire. Proof will always be written in victors. The Muslims well, they're not reclaiming Europe. They never had Europe. They got as far as the Pyrenees. Silent Bob, another 700. Well, that is a little bit that did have to help. Thank you for that, Silent Bob. Thank you so much. The Muslims got as far as the gates of Vienna, where Jan Sobieski and his Polish cavalry defeated them, and they got to the Pyrenees. That's it. They never conquered Europe before. They tried and they failed, as did the Mongols. They got as far as almost to the gates of Vienna, and they were pushed back. They came back. The problem with the Mongols is that their form of warfare worked great in the steppe, in the dry steppe, where they could pasture their horses and use their tactics. But once you get to Vienna and go further west, ravines and mountains and valleys and narrow spaces, it didn't work. You couldn't operate the way they did, and they would have been defeated militarily, but they were brought back because of the death of the Khan. So yeah. Anyway, Star Spangled Banner. What are you talking about? The whole of Europe plus UK has become too woke. Indeed. That's a long time ago, though. Gabriel, welcome from the Schweiz. All right, I think I've caught up a little bit there with the chat. Is Quiz still here? Did Quiz leave? If Quiz is here, Quiz is being very quiet. Sumery gave 20 Rand. There you go. See, you weren't intimidated by Silent Bob. Lisa says you can sponsor my kid's passport. Okay. It's the official State Department. State Department. Oh, he wants to change the system. But that's not a change of the system, Philip. That's not a change of the system. Refugee is not immigration. You're always expected to go home when the problem is resolved. Landau can talk all he wants, but that's the existing system. You're a refugee, not an immigrant. That's what I've been stressing all along. Since the very beginning, what I've been telling people, you're not an immigrant. You are a refugee. And you should go home when the problem is resolved. The problem is no one goes home because they're never resolved. There's nothing new. Watch whose videos, Thomas? Watch whose videos? Renee Cooney says, thank you for speaking out for citizens in South Africa. Well, you're welcome. The Mongols had a direct effect on the environment. May have number wrong, but they believe they pleaded the human race. Oh, they're not. Well, Daniel, the problem with that is that the people who chronicle that stuff, the Muslim clerics and the Chinese clerics who chronicle what the Mongols did, they exaggerate. And Genghis Khan and others wanted them to exaggerate. They wanted them the refugees who fled from the cities that they conquered, to tell people about the horrible things. The number of people that they are accused of killing is impossible. It's impossible. But they killed a god-awful number, and they're the worst murderers in history, no doubt about it. The good news is they didn't torture people. They just put them to the sword immediately, unlike Europeans and Asians who torture people horrifically. Yeah, they did wipe out a lot of people, but the numbers attributed to them are simply impossible based on their numbers. Ian says, my membership is expired. Ian, if money is tight, then don't subscribe. I mean, don't become a paying member. It's keep that money for yourself. I don't ask anyone to give money they can't afford. I don't ask anyone to do that. Again, the only reason this channel got monetized from the beginning is you viewers asked me to do it. I had no intention. And those who've been here at the very beginning know that I didn't monetize my channel immediately. I held off. But people kept asking me. They wanted emojis. They wanted the membership thing. They wanted to support the channel. And I held off for some time, and then I finally monetized the channel. Look, the revenue is nice, especially the ad revenue. Not now because so few views are coming in. But no, it wasn't done to make money, and I haven't come to rely on the money. Actually, as I said, most of what I make on here helps pay for some of the trips to cover things for people and pays taxes. But yeah, I'm not exactly living high off the hog. I don't have a Mercedes sitting in the front yard. That's for darn sure. Nikki's never had any problem with notifications from my channel. Wow, thank you for sharing that, Nikki. You are one of the few. I don't get notified of my own videos. I have multiple YouTube accounts, all of which are subscribed to my channels, and none of them ever get notified of my videos. People listen to the Colonel. He knows what he's talking about. Thank you, Andreas. I do. Thank you very much. You're explaining the same things over and over again. Oh, Thomas, I'm not really sure. I think you wrote earlier, said listen to the Colonel. Yeah, I explain lots of things over and over again because not everybody's here all the time. Yeah, the Mongols lowered the global temperature because of what they did. They killed millions of people. They, Genghis Khan actually came up with a pretty interesting, a pretty interesting legal code, which had never been done before. Kidnapping was a key aspect of steppe life, and he put an end to it. He allowed slavery to continue, but he came up with all kinds of things that really were amazing. So, What else I missed here? Sue Marie, thank you for the 20 Rand super chat. Here for the truth. Well, thank you, Mandy. Because the USA has no control over McDonald's. McDonald's is a private corporation. So Ramaphosa has, I'm assuming, a franchise license. So it would be up to McDonald's to take it away from Sir Ramaphosa. Nothing wrong accepting money for the amount of work you do. That's true, Nikki. That's true. I put tons of time and effort into this. Really do. By the way, this I showed before I went on the trip, but what do you guys think of this? This is from Memorial Day. That's me with our guest speaker at the Memorial Day event at the cemetery. He was our guest speaker that day. Pretty cool. Love your Adrian. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate that. Courtney Sten, welcome to you. Pretty cool. Anyway, so that was kind of fun. Your short really bugged me. How dare people act so ungrateful? Oh, no, Lindy, I only did it because I've seen actually the screenshot. Whoa, what's with the camera? There we go. I actually seen the screenshots of people saying, fuck the USA, screw the USA. They screwed me. This is so, you don't treat people like this. No one's treating you like that. You should have listened to the things I've said and pay attention. I still find it hilarious that people today in the program still haven't come here and they're still listening to cockprodders and know what they're talking about. Whatever. Still going to pop in South this year. Mad Max, if I come to South Africa, I will not announce it if I come. But I have to have money for that. It takes a lot of money to do this stuff, folks. I just came back. The trip I just did was only possible because CakeNet paid for my flight and for 2 nights of accommodation of the, was it 7 or 8 nights? 8 nights, so it was 7 nights. So they paid for 2 of the 7. And then for the rental vehicle, I used 9,500 of my points from Avis, which took off $500 of the rental costs. So I saved $500 there. The national parks, because I got my veterans pass at one of the parks, which I never had. It's for life. You can get free entry into the national park system. I got this. This saved me $140 going to 3 parks. So that's already $640 plus $700 for the flight. That's $1,300 plus $200 hotels. That's $1,500. That's $1,500 I didn't have to come up with for this trip, and I still spent over $1,000 before I even left, just paying for lodging. So that's why that trip was possible. I had to burn through a lot of points. I used 48,000 of my points at Hilton. By the way, the Hilton in Salt Lake is very nice. And I ran into World Rugby there. 2 officials from World Rugby, 2 young ladies from Ireland, based in their accent from Ireland. It's quite obvious they come from Ireland, yeah, for sure. They were there scouting for the 2031 Rugby World Cup already in Salt Lake, talking to Hilton officials about the venue. Yep. Unless you're on the plane, nothing is guaranteed. Is there a military vets for international vets? I don't know Andre. If there's an organization, not that I'm aware of. Oh, there's a lot of people like that, Phoenix. You would not believe. By the way, so I got frantic phone calls from people who shouldn't be calling me when I was in Wyoming and answering questions, trying to calm people down. That was, I have other things to do. I was in a spot where I had very poor cell coverage, and I was trying to put an address in to judge the time to get to Jackson based on the traffic and the weather. And the person called, and it locked up the system because it was running over the phone, over the vehicle. And I couldn't hear them. I couldn't adjust the volume because it was something going on. I pulled over. They hung up. I had to turn the car off, restart it, and reconnect everything to get back. And then I finally got a signal. Yeah, no, I had lots of people calling me about things and sending me messages about things that people should be calming down about. But there are a lot of people who are saying nasty things. And you know what? We don't really need those people. My upstate crew tell me the Namibia folks still battling the Etosha fires. Did you hear about that? Puts the rest of us in bad light. I've been waiting for a call and interview. By the way, I talked to someone this past week who has been working on a green card for 6 years. And doesn't have a green card yet, but is legal, has a work permit, but it's been renewed, but does not have a green card and is in the process of getting one. 6 years. And I have South Africans in South Africa moaning about not getting a call for 1 month. The number of messages I've got in the past week about people who were contacted 2 months ago and just got contacted this week is astounding. At least a dozen of those messages. Anyway. Scissor-proof mid-news. Okay, thank you, Garrett. I didn't know that. Sounds like I'm ungrateful and attack. There are a lot. What happened to humanity? Humanity went to crap. Morality disappeared. But it's always been gone. There's always been evil people. Look, we talked about that 13-year-old girl beaten to death at the beginning of this program. That's just sick. Many ungrateful people throwing shade at the U.S. and have the audacity to bitch and moan. Yeah, it's true, Thomas. It's true. You know, hey, Devet, our history well is better than most. Thus, you know full well we seek freedom. All our war is freedom. The next one will be no different. Thank you for all you do for us, including these ungrateful people. It shows how much your character, you're one of the few good ones out there. Well, thank you so much for that, Phoenix. I appreciate that. There are some tiny-minded people. What's your opinion of speech by Pete Eggseth? The general tone of it I liked. The way it was delivered, I'm not so sure I liked that. It was really delivered as a dressing down, and some of those officers didn't deserve that dressing down. Many of them did. 10 minutes. Yeah, we're going to wrap up here. So sorry I have to go. Unexpected guest. Well, have fun with your guest, okay? All right. Rugby in 10 minutes. I'm going to wrap up here, folks, because I have to get the lineups ready and print them out. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit the like button before you go. We got 408 people here, 443 likes. The Super Chat Redmond, thank you for that. It's not Salty Cracks since the beginning of the month, so thank you for that, especially Silent Bob and your partner Jay, who didn't say anything. Quids is still here. Quids, I'm glad your feelings weren't hurt. Glad to see you still here. Thanks for hanging around. Yeah, now you don't have to like the rugby, Quids, and it's your opinion. You can share it. Anyway, but off to Stormers versus Osprey in a few minutes, folks. See you you'll be automatically redirected there, so you can get up and go to the loo, get something to drink, get something to nosh on, and if you want to join us over there. 385 people still here. Thanks. I'll see you on that side. Cheers, everybody. Take care of yourselves. We got 6 rugby games this weekend, 2 today, 3 tomorrow, and 1 on Sunday. Where's the closing at? There it is. Cheers.